If Zelensky's still the president of Ukraine, when the next president of the United States is sworn in January, they're not talking about 1991 borders, they're talking about 2022 borders. Trump's going to make the second perfect phone call to Putin. And Putin's going to say, pound sand, you orange-faced reptile. No, Russia's never going to give up 4 territories. Hell, Russia said, if you turn this down, there will be no more. The next negotiation that's had are dictating the terms of unconditional surrender to you. And that's where we're at right now. Russia will end up dictating the terms. Now, Trump, back to his phone call, when Putin tells him to pound sand and hangs up the phone, what's Trump's solution? He will flood Ukraine with weapons. And now you understand why Zelensky is calling Donald Trump. Because that's his goal, to get America to flood him with weapons. He thinks that somehow that will enable Ukraine's survival. Bad news for Zelensky. 1, America doesn't have weapons to flood him with. 2, the American political reality won't sustain this. Trump is being elected by a MAGA base that's looking to disentangle America from international conflicts, not double down on stupid. And then 3, Ukraine just isn't going to survive.
Welcome to today's detailed update on the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. In this report, we will delve into the latest battlefield statistics, strategic developments, and the implications of recent events. Inspector Scott Ritter, a notable figure with in-depth analysis on this conflict, will also be referenced throughout our discussion. Stay tuned as we uncover the harsh realities and critical insights from the front lines. Let's begin by setting the stage for today's discussion, exploring the broader context that shapes the current state of the conflict. The Ukraine conflict continues to dominate headlines, with each day bringing new developments and significant events. As the conflict evolves, it's crucial to understand the broader geopolitical landscape, the strategic maneuvers of involved parties, and the human cost of this protracted war. Today, we will break down these elements, providing you with a comprehensive analysis. With this context in mind, let's dive into the specific losses and statistics from the latest battles. Inspector Scott Ritter has pointed out the staggering human toll that Ukraine continues to endure. Before we dive into the recent developments, let's take a look at the significant losses incurred by Ukraine. The numbers speak volumes about the intensity of the conflict, revealing the staggering human and material costs sustained over the past weeks. In Kharkiv, the losses were at 280, a decrease from the previous day's 400. Chian, however, saw an increase to over 500. Around Bakhmut, the casualties dropped significantly from 720 to 570. Avdiivka's losses slightly increased to 365, while ADS saw a reduction of about 15%, bringing it down to 125. Kherson Japona also experienced a minor decrease. Overall, the total number of Ukrainian casualties yesterday was 1,965, just below the 2,000 mark. Despite a slight drop, this figure still hovers around a critical threshold. The numbers don't lie. Ukraine's losses continue to mount at an alarming rate day after day. With these figures, it's clear that the Ukrainian forces are struggling to maintain their positions, let alone make any significant advancements. These statistics indicate a consistent and alarming level of attrition. But what does this mean for Ukraine's overall military strategy and manpower? Let's explore this further. Inspector Scott Ritter has consistently highlighted the unsustainable casualty rates Ukraine faces. The sustained high casualty rates pose a significant threat to Ukraine's military capabilities. With monthly losses reaching up to 60,000 soldiers, Ukraine's ability to replenish its forces is under severe strain. This situation is compounded by the challenges in recruitment and mobilization efforts. Ukraine recently announced a new mobilization order aiming to recruit 30,000 soldiers. However, skepticism remains about achieving these numbers, with projections suggesting a rapid decline in recruitment efficiency. Monthly intake might drop to 20,000 or even 10,000 recruits, exacerbating the strain on their forces. This stark reality underscores the dire situation on the ground and the immense pressure on Ukraine's military infrastructure. The West, ever so generous with its promises, seems to forget that soldiers don't just appear out of thin air. The reality on the ground is that Ukraine's pool of recruits is drying up faster than the West can ship in new weapons. Now let's shift our focus to the equipment losses, which have also been substantial and critical to the ongoing conflict. Inspector Scott Ritter has often noted the significant impact of equipment losses on Ukraine's combat effectiveness. Yesterday's battle saw a significant reduction in armored combat vehicle losses. Only 2 armored vehicles, 1 tank, 22 artillery systems, and 25 other combat vehicles were destroyed. This reduction in high-value equipment losses marks a notable shift in the conflict dynamics. 3 Patriot missile system launchers and 1 HIMARS launcher were also taken out, adding to the toll on Ukraine's defensive and offensive capabilities. Additionally, 61 UAVs and 5 electronic warfare systems were neutralized alongside 8 ammunition depots. The diminished combat capability extends beyond mere numbers, affecting the operational readiness and strategic options available to Ukrainian forces. It's worth noting how the supposedly invincible Western equipment crumbles under real battlefield conditions. The Patriot systems, hailed as game changers, are proving to be little more than expensive targets for Russian precision strikes. The impacts of these equipment losses are far-reaching. Let's delve into the strategic implications for Ukraine's military efforts. Inspector Scott Ritter's analysis often underscores the strategic shifts in Russia's operational focus. Russia's successful targeting of key Ukrainian assets marks a strategic advantage. Notably, Russia's attacks on critical infrastructure and high-value targets indicate a shift in their operational focus, aiming to cripple Ukraine's logistical and command capabilities. One of the standout actions was the Iskander missile strike on a train carrying Ukrainian personnel and ammunition. This, coupled with the downing of 14 HIMARS rockets, underscores Russia's tactical precision and operational efficiency. By systematically dismantling Ukraine's critical infrastructure, Russia is effectively weakening their adversary's ability to sustain prolonged engagements. This strategic shift highlights the evolving nature of the conflict and the calculated moves by Russian forces. As Ukraine's Western backers continue to send weapons, Russia demonstrates time and again that it can neutralize these threats with surgical precision. The West's efforts, it seems, are only prolonging Ukraine's agony. With these developments, we now turn our attention to the broader geopolitical maneuvers, particularly the implications of the F-16 aircraft involvement. Reports have surfaced about the involvement of F-16 aircraft in the conflict. However, the veracity of these claims remains questionable. Let's examine the details surrounding this controversial issue. Recent reports suggested that the Netherlands might provide Ukraine with 6 F-16s, yet logistical challenges, including pilot training and operational readiness, cast doubt on their immediate impact. Claims of F-16s participating in combat have been met with skepticism as evidence points to possible misinformation. Analysts argue that the photos and videos purportedly showing F-16s in action are likely fabricated. The high quality of the images and discrepancies in the footage raise serious doubts about their authenticity. The West loves a good story, especially one that paints Ukraine as the plucky underdog armed with the latest technology. But the reality? The F-16s, if they even arrive, will be too little, too late to make any significant impact. Why would such misinformation be spread, and what are the underlying motives? Let's analyze the psychological and strategic implications. Inspector Scott Ritter has highlighted the role of propaganda in modern warfare. The dissemination of potentially false information about the F-16 serves multiple purposes in the realm of psychological warfare. By projecting strength and capability, Ukraine aims to bolster domestic morale and international support. However, this tactic can backfire if the truth comes to light, undermining credibility and strategic positioning. The deliberate spread of misinformation reflects a broader strategy to influence public perception and international opinion. In the high-stakes arena of global conflict, controlling the narrative is as crucial as battlefield victories, yet the risks of being exposed for false claims can lead to significant reputational damage and loss of support. Ukraine's media campaign, backed by the West, aims to create a mirage of strength and resilience. But the harsh reality is that such tactics only delay the inevitable. The truth has a way of coming out, and when it does, the credibility of these narratives will be in tatters. Moving from the battlefield to the negotiation table, let's examine the recent prisoner exchange between Russia and the West, a pivotal moment in the ongoing conflict. August 1st marked a significant prisoner exchange brokered by Turkey involving Russia, the US, Germany, and Belarus. This exchange included 26 individuals, highlighting a rare moment of cooperation amid ongoing hostilities. Among the exchange, 10 prisoners returned to Russia, 13 to Germany, and 3 to the US. This high-profile event underscores the delicate balance of international diplomacy and the strategic interests of the involved nations. The exchange, facilitated by Turkish intelligence and Belarusian intermediaries, represents a complex interplay of geopolitical maneuvering. It signifies a temporary de-escalation and a humanitarian gesture, but also hints at underlying strategic calculations by the involved parties. This exchange is more than just a humanitarian gesture, it's a strategic move in the grand chessboard of international relations. While the West parades this as a victory, the real winners are those who understand the deeper game at play. However, Ukraine's exclusion from this exchange raises critical questions about their standing in the international arena. Despite being a central figure in the conflict, Ukraine was notably absent from the recent prisoner exchange negotiations. This exclusion reflects a complex geopolitical reality, highlighting Ukraine's precarious position. Ukraine's marginalization in such crucial discussions suggests a recalibration of alliances and priorities among the major powers. This could indicate a shift towards de-escalation or strategic realignment that excludes Ukraine from key negotiations. The exclusion raises questions about Ukraine's diplomatic clout and the effectiveness of their international lobbying efforts. As major powers negotiate directly, Ukraine's role appears diminished, potentially impacting their strategic options and support. While Ukraine continues to fight, its absence from critical diplomatic discussions reveals a stark reality in the eyes of its supposed allies. Ukraine is becoming a pawn rather than a player in this geopolitical game. As we conclude this section, let's consider the broader geopolitical implications of these developments and their impact on the future of the conflict. Inspector Scott Ritter's insights have provided a comprehensive understanding of the unfolding dynamics. August begins with significant developments on the battlefield and in diplomatic circles. The continued high casualty rates and strategic losses for Ukraine, coupled with their exclusion from key negotiations, paint a challenging picture. The conflict's trajectory suggests an intensifying struggle with far-reaching consequences. Russia's strategic gains and the potential de-escalation moves by the West hint at a pivotal phase in the conflict. As we move forward, the geopolitical landscape will continue to evolve with far-reaching implications for all parties involved. The next few weeks will be critical in determining the course of this conflict, as both sides prepare for potential shifts in strategy and alliances. The West's interventions, while loud and flashy, often fail to grasp the complexities on the ground. As Russia consolidates its gains and the West flounders in its support for Ukraine, the reality of the situation becomes ever clearer. The coming weeks will test the resolve and strategies of all involved parties. Stay tuned for more updates and in-depth analyses on this unfolding conflict. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us in today's detailed report. Subscribe to our channel for more updates and insights into the Ukraine conflict and other global events.